KVNU News Time is 5:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by the Duck Hunter. The University of Utah named its new president on Thursday, placing Taylor R. Randall as the school's 17th president, replacing Ruth V. Watkins. KUTV reports Randall joined the university in 1999 and has served as dean of the David Eccles School of Business for 12 years. He faces a time of increased concern about student safety in the midst of a COVID-19 pandemic around the world and in the shadow of the murder of track athlete Lauren McCluskey. In January 2021, Ruth V. Watkins, president of the University of Utah, announced she had accepted a top post at Strata Impact and would step down in April 2021 after 3 years as president. KVNU News Time is 5:06. KVNU weather for tonight. Smoky conditions will prevail tonight and really right on through the weekend. Areas of smoke each day, low around 50, and then mid-80s on Saturday. Some hazy sunshine tomorrow. Areas of smoke on Sunday and into the lower 90s. Well, it ushered in all the smoke, but it did drop the temperatures. It's 74 right now after reaching 96 yesterday. 75 has been our high here at KVNU. KVNU Weather is brought to you by Northern Steel Buildings. Work with their Cache Valley team to build a stronger, more durable, long-lasting structure for your needs today. Visit northernsteelbuilding.com. Call 435-677-7300.
My friend John Hansen at the Duck Hunter has constantly educated you about the need for ductwork cleaning in your home. But what about your cabin or summer home outside the valley? You need that home's ductwork cleaned too. With high pollen counts in the mountains, dust always in the wind, and road construction ever present, the old adage of out of sight, out of mind is bad. Give the Duck Hunter a call at 770-4813 to clean out those dirty ducks in your summer home.
We are the Duck Hunter. Breathe better, save money, protect your home. We are the Duck Hunter.
KVNU News Time is 5:07. The latest figures from the Utah Department of Health indicate over 5,000 breakthrough cases. Utahns who are fully vaccinated and then have contracted the virus. Governor Cox said repeatedly vaccination is the best path through the pandemic, but this week some Utah doctors say that masking is also needed to battle a virus that is spreading faster and stronger than ever. Utah's COVID count today is 898 new coronavirus cases, which is roughly twice as many as was reported 30 days ago. It leaves the 7-day average for positive tests at 859 a day. The latest report leaves the state with 438,479 positive cases in Utah over the 16 months of the pandemic. With today's 8 deaths, there have been 2,494 Utahns who have lost their lives to the virus. Since Thursday, there were 36 new COVID cases in the Bear River Health District, and the district's total case count grew to 23,388. There are now 22,722 in the district who the state considers to be recovered. Over 73,000 people in northern Utah's 3 northern counties are fully vaccinated, which accounts for 56.3% of all district residents. That includes 59% of Cache County residents, 50.4% in Box Elder County, and 49.2% in Rich County. More than 156,000 vaccine doses have been administered in the district. KVNU News Time is 5:09. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
The local news source. News Talk KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM. If you're like most local residents, you have a huge influx of creepy crawlers invading your home. Right now, the nasty elm seed beetle is all over northern Utah. But there is a solution. Call Logan Extermination today for a full exterior spray. Their full exterior spray includes foundations and eaves and will kill those nasty spiders, wasps, box elder bugs, and the new nuisance elm seed beetles. And best of all, prices start at only $85. Call Logan Extermination today for details. 752-8450.
Oh, little piggy! Let me in or I'll blow this building down!
Nice try, Wolfie, but this here building's made from steel.
All right then, here goes! Gosh, that didn't work.
A building from Northern Steel Buildings will keep out the big bad wolf, and they don't break the piggy bank. Visit northernsteelbuildings.com to see their quality work or call 435-677-7300. Northern Steel Buildings. Value from concept to construction.
This is Governor Spencer Cox. Right now, we're facing our state's worst drought on record. Utah, now's the time to unite in our effort to water less. So please visit slowtheflow.org to learn ways that you can take action.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Hour 2 of today's show, Thursday, August 6th. I'm Jason Williams. Thank you for tuning in. Governor Gary Herbert, education advisor to the governor, Tammy Pfeiffer, and state epidemiologist Dr. Angela Dunn, present in today's weekly coronavirus task force press briefing. And it was an interesting briefing. Some good news from the governor. Welcome back to KVN News for the People, hour 2 of today's show, Friday, August 6th. Time for the People Movie Show with Andy Morgan of AndyAtTheMovies.com. This hour we'll look back over the summer movie season and some of the recent hits. How did they do at the box office? You'd be surprised, actually, for all the lack of excitement over movies this summer in general. I think we're all still kind of waking up from a movie slump of last year and most of this so far. The box office actually did pretty well. I doubt any production companies or studios are going home completely disappointed, despite the fact that there were no huge blockbusters so far. We'll see. Suicide Squad open now. That might be the first one, and we'll talk about that more here in a bit because it does have that potential to be the big first summer movie. Wow. Which could just kick off excitement over getting back into the theaters in a way that you might see some of these movies that have come and gone come and go again because of their again, not huge disappointment, but not what it probably could have been box office take. So we'll be talking about all of this, looking ahead, too, into what you can expect in the final few weeks, about, if you're being generous, 6 weeks of summer movie season left here. We'll see what's coming and what's worth it, but where things stand right now, what you can see in Logan and more, we'll talk about it all. Jungle Cruise is, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if this is a hit or a flop. It's sitting at about 63% with audiences on Rotten Tomatoes. That implies hit. But it's not getting a warm reception from Disney fans, from rock fans. Dwayne Johnson, sorry, he changed his name there. And, of course, critics just panning this as a phoned-in, lazy approach to profiting off of Disney properties. Something Disney is fond of doing, but they usually put a lot of more effort into it, says one critic writing for RogerEbert.com. We'll see. We didn't talk about this a lot last week, but something else in theaters that is getting a warm reception from audiences and critics, though not being referred to as a comeback. You know, the career of M. Night Shyamalan has been really interesting to me. This is a person who literally had his career launched into, he was one of the most sought after producers and directors for a couple of years because of I See Dead People. I mean, that was literally what launched his career, that surprise. And then he just kept making that same type of movie over and over again. And it kept working sometimes and not working. I'm still angry about The Village, one of his movies that has, it's an amazing movie about 40% of the way through. And then the remaining 60, just a snoozer. And that's because he gives the game away at 40% of the movie in. And it's lame. I'm still mad about that. But I did like some of his most recent forays into scary movies. The one with the kid and the grandma was pretty creepy. The Split Personality, I forget the name of that. I think it was actually called Split. That was done pretty well, even though. But I mean, here's this guy that made a name over, the surprise ending. It's almost not surprising when there's a surprise ending in a Shyamalan film. So he's back, and this time, as I understand it, not doing his classic shtick with a movie called Old. And this, so far, has been one of the first sleeper hits of the summer. People are saying this is very good. I haven't seen it myself. Neither has Andy. But people are saying this is one of his best films. It's good. It's directed well, and it is surprising, but not in the ways you start to predict in an M. Night Shyamalan film. It's called Old. It is playing here in Cache Valley, and here's the basic description without any spoilers. It says this is a mysterious thriller about a family on a tropical holiday who discover that the secluded beach where they are relaxing for a few hours is actually causing them to age very rapidly and reduces their entire lives to a single day. They have until sunset, basically, to find a way out. It's playing here in Logan, and like I say, critics are saying that despite the reputation, predictable nature of Shyamalan films, this one could be his first real breakthrough since his original first film, I See Dead People. So check it out if you want to, if you're so inclined. Here in Cache Valley, you can also see, as I mentioned, Jungle Cruise, One Side is Engaged, Snake Eyes. This is the third G.I. Joe film, Space Jam: A New Legacy, Stillwater with Matt Damon playing as well here in Cache Valley. And then coming next week, well, we'll hold off on that. The Fast and Furious F9 film still here in the Valley as well. And then Suicide Squad, the big opener this weekend, playing only at the university theaters for some reason. All of that available for your movie-going pleasure here in Cache Valley. We'll talk about them all, recap the summer movie season from a box office perspective. How have things done and not done well at the box office? No big disappointments, surprisingly, but not quite what it could have been or has been in previous summer seasons. When does it officially come back? Well, obviously when the pandemic officially ends, go get vaccinated, wink, wink, hint, hint. But even then, people, through their wallets at least, showing that they're still hesitant. Until Hollywood gives them that I can't miss it, movies might not be fully back for a while. Suicide Squad is going to be that for me, and Dune, coming up in October, definitely will be. But we'll talk more about what's been in theaters, what's coming to theaters, and if summer movie season will kick off this year at all. It hasn't yet. Coming up right after this here on the For the People Movie Show. More in just a bit.
We live in a very special place. There are a few places where you can snow ski in the morning, then play golf in the afternoon. Hike a trail, water ski, take a 70-mile bike ride, then go fly fishing. I'm Dee Jones, and I'm running for Logan City Mayor. I'm a local business owner and know the struggles independent small businesses face. I have 35 years marketing and business solutions experience. I know how to balance a budget and where to cut costs. I'm Dee Jones. I'm running for Logan City Mayor, and I'm asking for your vote.
Paid for by Dee Jones.
I'm Larry Gelwicks, the Getaway Guru. Join me on The Travel Show every Saturday at 11 a.m., and I'll tell you where to go and how to get there with the best travel deals on the planet, including how to travel more and pay less, free this and free that promotions, and insider secrets on what the airlines, cruise lines, and hotels don't want you to know, along with your call-in travel questions. Every Saturday, 11 a.m., right here on News Talk 610 KVNU.
Vehicle accidents are stressful enough. You don't need someone showing up at the scene trying to pressure you into letting them tow away your vehicle. Call your roadside assistance provider or insurance company for towing company suggestions, or consult with police on the scene. And always have the price and terms in writing before you let them hook it up. If you suspect fraud, call us at 1-800-TEL-NICB or visit www.nicb.org. A public service message from the National Insurance Crime Bureau.
These are the sounds of a dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
Welcome back to the For the People Movie Show. Myself, Andy Morgan of AndyAtTheMovies.com, running through summer movie season so far. A few weeks left in summer movie season, sticking with the summer music here, or summery sounding music at least, to try and keep it alive. Kids going back to school, though, in just a few weeks. Yeah, I know. It's weird, but it is still warm out there, still summery out there, still a lot of summer events going on, and still a lot of summer movies in the theaters and coming to theaters. So we're just recapping so far the summer season and what to expect. And, of course, I thought this would make a bigger splash, but one very, very much summer movie premiere that's happened here in the first big summer movie season comeback post-pandemic was Space Jam 2. And this, this has been rumored for years and years and years, and it's finally happened. It's in theaters. The reaction has been, basically what you'd expect. But this had taken on the potential sequel, or the rumored sequel had taken on nearly mythological status over the last few decades. And Andy, I know you haven't seen it, but
who are you going to put in it at this point? Like Kevin Durant? Nah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? James Harden? Beard Jam? It was going to be LeBron.
I think they should have Michael Jordan. I think they should have just
Portly Jordan.
Yeah, they should have just run with it. Oh, slow down, everybody! Slow down.
Whoa!
Here I come! Here I come!
Ouch!
Ouch! Oh, my ankle.
You know what I was thinking about?
We're bad people.
Yeah, this is kind of funny. I saw Space Jam. Utah and Michael Jordan doesn't really vibe usually because, Michael Jordan broke all of our hearts.
For a good decade, I think it was mandatory to hate him, right?
Multiple occasions.
In Utah.
Yeah, it was. But
to get a driver's license, you were asked, how do you feel about Michael Jordan?
That's a question. Did Jordan push off? Yes. Fine.
You pushed up.
Well, I guess we don't need you to have a breathalyzer test today.
Driver's license and 3 acres of land.
Drive on by. Head on out. It's okay. We didn't see anything. No, I remember going to see that movie because if you were a fan of basketball, it was hard not to appreciate Michael Jordan, even if you were a fan of the Jazz, like I was, and I still am. But so it makes sense with LeBron. We'll have a review. I'll have a review of this next week. They didn't. I wasn't aware of a screening for critics, but
the problem I have with this is the same problem I have with the original. You can't modernize Looney Tunes characters. You just got to leave them the way they look in the original
hand-drawn
cartoons. Yeah, it just doesn't. Well, that whole Porky
but the original
Pig,
wasn't the original hand-drawn?
Porky Pig just does. It just ends up being silly for everybody. Just leave them. I think it would be cooler.
It looks like a video game.
Yeah, it looks like a video game. I think it would be cooler if they actually did that old 1940s animation with Bugs Bunny, Tweety, and
right.
Granny.
There's so much.
I think it would actually work.
There's so much product placement and promotion for this right now.
I think that's why these movies exist.
Well, and the funny thing is
one giant promotion scam.
There used to be there was this one meme of LeBron James' face when he played for the Miami Heat, where he kind of snuck in, like I think it was Chris Bosh was getting interviewed, and LeBron ducked under the camera, and then he popped his head up, and he had this face this real goofy smile. And that's like how he looks in the whole movie. And I was like, is that on purpose, or does your face just look like that? Like that's your cartoon face.
My Space Jam face.
Anyway, we'll talk about that next week. It is not getting good reviews so far, so I don't know what to say.
It is playing, though, if you want to go check it out.
It is.
In Logan.
And it is also on HBO Max. So if you do not want to go to the theater, then you'll be okay.
Did they ever resolve things on that? Whether that was going to be temporary or permanent? Or
I think the only movie that might have some leverage is Dune, but I think Dune is still going to be on HBO Max as well.
Can see it? Okay.
Yep.
I don't see why both can't coexist, but
yeah, I don't know how I would do it if I was you have to keep theater distributors very happy.
Do you though?
Yeah. I mean,
what else are they going to do
in this day and age? I think you do. But I don't know. Anyway, we'll talk about Space Jam next week. But we were talking about Black Widow when we were into the first hour.
I'm excited to hear what you have to say because I
give it a good grade.
You set this up as Black Widow and Loki, the Disney Plus television series.
Those two don't tie in together.
No, they're not connected, but
we know
they answer some things about where Marvel's going.
Well, we've had 3 series so far, just so everybody's aware. You've got WandaVision.
Which WandaVision's almost like a recap of a recap to me. I mean, that is really putting phase 1, 2, and 3 to bed.
Yeah, and I think, and then you've
in
got...
a nice way.
Yeah, and then you have Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Which is, okay,
which
here's
kind of does
next.
the same thing.
Yeah.
And then you've got Loki. And what I
which
get
is
from
the first one from Disney Plus in which there are no ties to the previous.
Right.
I mean, there are ties because you have to know the backstory.
Because they talk about New York, the Battle of New York.
Yeah.
They
and
talk
he
about
knows that he's dead.
Thanos killing him.
Yeah, So there are ties, but the plot doesn't rely on anything that's really happened before.
To not lay spoilers down, essentially what Loki is about. Loki introduces the concept of the multiverse,
time travel,
and that there are worlds stacked on worlds of the same people living different existences, and that there's this group of people, the Timekeeper Authority, I think, or the Time whatever variant, I can't remember what it is, and they sort of manage and keep everything from exploding into chaos.
Yeah, and so their job is to kill rogue timelines. So when the Avengers screw up in Endgame, and Loki grabs the Tesseract and goes and disappears,
when Hulk comes charging out because he doesn't want to go down the stairs.
Yeah, so he's mad because he had to take the stairs. So you have the first Avengers movie tying into the final Avengers movie in that way.
Well, and it's almost
because they've gone back.
But it's
time,
not even that. It's the first Avengers movie tying into Endgame, tying into this. So you've got three
movies.
Yeah.
So all these things so in the final Avengers movie, they go back in time to the first Avengers movie, but they screw up and they change the ending of the first Avengers movie. But then in the Endgame movie, they just kind of move on from that.
Yeah.
So now Loki is sort of picking up like, okay, where does that Loki go?
Right. Yep.
But the time cops decide to not wipe his timeline out because they need him.
Well, and so I this is what I feel like they're doing is Marvel has pretty much... They're locked into incorporating the movies in Phase 4 and going forward to the content that will also be on Disney Plus. So at the end of Black Widow, this is a minor spoiler, sort of a spoiler. They set up the end of Black Widow sets up the Hawkeye series that's going to be on Disney Plus. That's why I was laughing when you were like, Hawkeye, that's a boring character, and I was like, well, wait until you get the Disney Plus series.
But see, I think he could carry an hour-long episode series. I don't think.
Let's be generous. Maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah, maybe you want to do shorter episodes, and you want a lot of supporting cast. But I don't think he could carry a movie.
Well, and again, if they can bring David Harbour's character in and Florence Pugh, and those people are going to be parts of Marvel going forward, I'm cool with that.
Okay. That's the other thing that I'm worried about. So everyone fell in love with all these Avengers, and all the actors that played these characters.
Who are we in love with now?
And so it's all new now. And except, you have some holdovers. You have
I agree. You have Thor. You have the Guardians.
Winter Soldier.
Everyone knows how much we love Winter Soldier, and no, you bring.
I
up
think he has
you bring up a
potential,
great point
I
right
think
now.
Winter Soldier could carry a 3-film.
You bring up a great point. Is we had, I mean, think about the core for the first 3 phases of Marvel. You had Iron Man, which was Robert Downey Jr., who's absolutely, you just are drawn.
And at this point, no one had, even a lot of people at Marvel, no one had any idea where any of this was going.
Well, you didn't have a ton of these supplementary characters, so
yeah,
you had
it was just
you had
him
the base.
in a good movie.
You had Iron Man, Thor, Black Widow, Captain America, Hulk, right?
Yeah,
that was it. And then we started adding in. You had Black Panther. You added in Spider-Man. You added in some of these, but those were all supplementary characters.
Ant-Man.
So I actually worried about this in Civil War when they're all teamed up at the Avengers headquarters and Captain America's like, train them good or whatever. And I kept thinking, can you do a future Avengers movie with a bunch of characters that you're not maybe head over heels in love with?
I remember thinking that too, because I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm probably not lining up on opening night for a Falcon movie.
So,
I'm not. It's a cool suit, but
I wonder if what worries me is unless Marvel's got something big up their sleeve, and they could,
they have the properties.
They do
to do it.
I mean, you got Fantastic Four. I feel like I do feel like I feel like they're gone back. It's almost like they're circling back, so that now we've done with this one chapter. Now they're kind of going back to that kind of 2008 time frame where they're like, okay, now let's start introducing these new characters, and then we're going to bring them together, and everybody's going to love it again.
There's going to be
not that they're not loving it now, because again, Black Widow made a lot of money.
Yeah,
Black Widow's a great movie. It is. I'm telling you right now, if you go see Black Widow, you will not be disappointed. It is action, Mission Impossible, spy. It's a great movie. It's over the top. It's even got some kind of Fast and Furious stuff. That was like, really?
I noticed a little bit of that in the trailer.
Did we just do that?
There was a
Did we just crash a space station?
There's a 2-second scene in the trailer that, like, wow, really?
Yeah,
I mean, that's like Fast and the Furious 7.
And it's got a good cast. So again, I would say I can't believe I'm going to say this because I love Star Wars. But if somebody said, what universe do you have more faith in going forward, I would say Marvel for sure. But this is, I mean, let's
Are you talking films or?
I'm talking their whole
everything?
universe. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say with Marvel right now, again, what they're going to do is they have films planned out, and then they're going to have all these Disney Plus programs that are going to supplement that. It's kind of what they wanted to do right after the Avengers. Remember, they had the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. running on ABC.
Which actually was good, but
I think that's what they wanted to do initially,
Do you know what, though? So here's a thing that no, I'll just never mind. I'll drop it. I think they've done really. I was going to criticize network television and say that's why the constraints of network television. That's why Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't work. But anyway, to your point, point taken. This is where they wanted to go, and it's working for them so far. I think Disney's money and flexibility definitely helps. But this. I mean, there's a reason they called it the Marvel Universe, right? So, talking Black Widow, you heard it from Andy there here on the For the People movie show. Black Widow, well worth your time, though Andy has some reservations about the future of the Marvel Universe and where they're at right now with some of these films and series coming out and slated to come out within the next year. Black Widow, he says, definitely worth your time, just maybe not what you're expecting from what is essentially an Avengers movie, although a prequel-style Avengers movie in the Black Widow character, dating back to roughly the timeline on this. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andy. The timeline on this is about the same time as the first Iron Man. That's when this Black Widow movie takes place. And as Andy just said, it's worth seeing. So it's in theaters here in Logan. We'll talk about what else you can see this weekend as we wrap up this week's For the People movie show right after this.
KBNU News Time is 5:34. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry. A judge has refused to dismiss a portion of the criminal case against a 65-year-old Perry man accused of traveling to Mendon to try and kill some of his family. The decision clears the way for Charles W. Leff's attempted murder trial to begin later this month. Leff participated in an evidentiary hearing in First District Court Thursday morning, appearing by web conference from the Cache County Jail. He has been charged with 5 counts of attempted aggravated murder, a first-degree felony, 4 counts of possession of a firearm by a restricted person, and 3 drug misdemeanors. Public Defender Ryan Holdaway had filed a motion asking the court to drop the drug charges. He argued Leff's medical record showed he had lower chronic back pain and was taking marijuana for pain management. Cache County Deputy Attorney Barbara Lackmar said despite Leff's medical condition, none of the medical record showed he was prescribed THC. She also had a member of the drug strike force testify that the marijuana seized during Leff's arrest does not comply with the new medical marijuana laws. After a brief recess, Judge Brian Cannell ruled that Leff had not provided sufficient evidence to show it was legal for him to be in possession of marijuana. He said the lack of any doctor's prescription was the deciding factor. Prosecutors allege Leff angrily left his Perry home on the morning of January 24, 2020, and drove to Mendon with the plan to kill several family members. He told his wife that he had become enraged that he could not see his grandchildren and was going to murder them. He then packed a suitcase with medication, grabbed 4 firearms, and told her that she would never see him again. Cache County Sheriff's deputies conducted a traffic stop and took the suspect into custody without incident. Leff admitted to packing a suitcase with clothing, medications, and 4 handguns. He told deputies he was leaving the area to live in Oregon and took the firearms so his wife wouldn't have access to the guns. The decision from Judge Cannell on Thursday comes 2 weeks before Leff's attempted murder trial is scheduled to begin. The 4-day jury trial starts August 23rd. Former Utah Governor Mike Leavitt has been named as the new president of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square. The announcement was made this morning by the First Presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. According to a press release, Leavitt will be joined by his wife Jackie in fulfilling this new role. He replaces Ron Jarrett, who has served as president of the choir since August 2012. Leavitt said the assignment to lead the choir was a pleasant surprise and will be a great experience for him and his wife.
The Tabernacle Choir has always been a conduit for me of spiritual feelings. It provides a sense of peace, and I know I'm not alone. That music is produced by remarkable, talented people who give of themselves, and they need to be given the latitude to make that music. And I think my job will be to make certain that it's a great experience for them.
Now, Leavitt was elected to 3 terms as governor of Utah, where he was lauded for his leadership during a period that saw both economic prosperity and hardship. During Leavitt's 11 years as governor, Utah was named America's best managed state 6 times by independent public policy analysts. From 2003 to 2009, Leavitt served twice in the cabinet of President George W. Bush. He was the 10th administrator of the EPA and the 20th Secretary of Health and Human Services. Among other endeavors, since concluding his public service, Leavitt organized Leavitt Partners, a business that advises clients in the healthcare section. The water level at Lake Powell on the Utah-Arizona border has hit a historic low amid a climate change-fueled mega drought engulfing the U.S. West. The milestone reached last week has closed boat ramps and forced some houseboats off the water, leaving tourists and businesses scrambling. Houseboat rental companies had to cancel their bookings through August, one of their most popular months, after the National Park Service banned people from launching the vessels in July. Lake Powell is the second largest reservoir in the United States, right behind Nevada's Lake Mead. which also stores water from the Colorado River. Both are shrinking faster than expected. KVNU News Time is 5:39.
Oh, we live in a great area. Are you just back from a camping trip? Don't take your sleeping bags to the dry cleaner. Come to Mount Logan Laundry. For just a few quarters, our 55 or 80-pound washers and 80-pound dryers will have those bags clean for your next trip. Mount Logan Laundry has free Wi-Fi and drop-off service. Plus, they're open until midnight. Mount Logan Laundry really is the cleanest spot in town. Find them at 5th East and 9th North in Logan or in Brigham City on the corner of 1st East and 7th South. Mount Logan Laundry.
KVNU weather, mostly clear, cooler tonight. Areas of smoke, low around 50. Areas of smoke on Saturday and Sunday. Otherwise, hazy sunshine, mid-80s for the high. And then high temperature, lower 90s on Sunday. It's been to 75, and it's a very smoke-filled 74 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by the Duct Hunter. If your clothes dryer isn't drying, it might be the dryer vent. So don't buy new. Call the Duct Hunter first. They'll come clean it out for you at 770-4813. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
This is Cache County Fire Chief Rod Hammer asking for your continued help. The state forester has determined that measures must be taken to prevent the ignition of forest and rangeland fires. Therefore, the following acts are prohibited. No building, maintaining, attending, or using any fire, campfire, or stove fire, including charcoal grills and barbecues, coal and wood-burning stoves and tin stoves, at homes and in developed camping and picnic grounds. There is an exception for devices using pellets, pressurized liquid fuel, or gas that include shutoff valves. They are permitted when used in an area at least 3 feet or more from flammable material such as grasses or pine needles. No smoking except within an enclosed vehicle, trailer, or building, a developed recreation site, or while stopped in an area that is paved or free from dry vegetation. No discharging or using any fireworks, tracer ammunition, or other pyrotechnic devices, including exploding targets. No cutting, welding, or grinding metals in areas of dry vegetation. No operating a motorcycle, chainsaw, ATV, or other small internal combustion engine without an approved and working spark arrestor. On behalf of all the firefighters in Cache County, we appreciate your efforts in preventing wildfire.
Attention homeowners! You may have noticed the ground shift after your foundation has been poured, causing your house to sink or settle. Protect your investment from issues before they happen. Polylift Concrete Raising and Piering will stabilize, lift, and eliminate further settling by using Magnum Piering products to save you big money down the road. Polylift Concrete Raising and Piering are the foundation lifting experts. Visit poly-lift.com to schedule your free assessment or call or text 435-999-9309. Polylift is locally owned and operated.
This is Jace Allen with Allen Mortuaries. From our family to yours, thank you for voting Allen Mortuaries Best Funeral Home of Northern Utah and Best Funeral Home of Cache Valley. We sincerely appreciate the confidence and trust your family has given us over the past 83 years. When you trust us with the final preparations of your loved one, you get the kind of caring, personalized service you can only expect from a family-owned funeral home. It's our family serving yours. Voted Best Funeral Home of Cache Valley in Northern Utah, Allen Mortuaries. Then, now, always.
Loveland Living Planet Aquarium takes us outside our everyday lives into a world of discovery. It's a chance to explore our innate curiosity, discover animals from around the world, and experience the all-new outdoor plaza and eco. More to explore at Loveland Living Planet Aquarium. Reserve your visit at thelivingplanet.com.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People Movie Show with Andy Morgan of AndyAtTheMovies.com. Things got off to a pretty slow start this year when it comes to movies. Obviously, the pandemic seems like forever ago since we were seeing the numbers, well, that ironically we're seeing in Utah again now due to the Delta variant, Delta V as they're referring to it, and the high number of vaccinated people out there. We're seeing numbers that we saw back in February, but back in February, before the vaccines were really being widely distributed to the public, movies were just not happening. They were being made, but nothing hitting theaters. Then as things started to kind of ease up, as people saw vaccination rate increase, hospitalizations and deaths decrease, I think people got more comfortable. There were some trial balloons and a few movies put out in theaters that did very well just over the last month or two. And then things kind of started to pick up. And Andy, the end of July here seems to be, we've still got a lot of the year left. And again, we might see things go back in the bottle a little bit as numbers start to soar due to unvaccinated people and the spread of Delta variant. But right now, at least, we've seen a really active July with some encouraging, I'm sure, for the studio's box office returns. And do we see a whole slew of, okay, we're going to sit on this till next year, but we're going to go ahead and put it out now this summer?
Yeah.
And not all of it the Suicide Squad.
Well, and again, Black Widow did, well, I don't know how to say this with a straight face, but because, we used to be talking about box office numbers where you're like, it made $200 million in a weekend, but Black Widow, it's making, it made, last weekend it made $80 million. That's huge post-pandemic. So
I was talking about that at the first, we've speculated about it and kind of everybody sort of expected it, anticipated Marvel having their first flop. Even though I wasn't with you in being anxious about this movie, I assumed I'd like it. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
I did, however, think it would be their first big, not bomb, but meh.
I think Black Widow's going to probably, if I had to bet.
For Marvel.
Yeah, well, right now, so if you look at the movies, the highest grossing movies for the year, A Quiet Place Part 2 is at $152 million.
Wow.
This is just domestic. And I'm not 100%. Yeah, so worldwide or international, they're at $128 million. So they're almost at, $300 million. And I don't know what the budget was for that, so I can't say if they've made their money back. But the point is that's pretty decent. And then, the Fast and Furious movies at about $150 million. Black Widow's climbing. It's only been out, a week.
Yeah.
And it's at $105 million. So I would assume that'll go higher.
That's pretty.
I would assume that would possibly tack on, another 60, 70 million. But let's talk about Black Widow for a second, because one, you and I have talked about this all year. Like, when does things kind of fully go back to normal? And
yeah.
I almost feel like the box office is a lot, just like how everything is right now, where, people
it's like
places,
normal, but not.
Yeah. It's like we've kind of come out and we're like looking, you've been in the dark room and you're like, whoa, it's bright out here. That's how I feel.
Like that bear coming out of hibernation.
Yeah. I almost didn't want to believe it when people were saying back in 2020, they were like, oh, it's going to take a couple years. And I kept thinking, okay, it'll take all of 2020. But 2021 will kind of start, But
I sort of thought there would be just that movie that does it. Just that one that's just so much excitement around it, so much that everybody's just like, all right, we're back.
Yeah, and
we just haven't seen that yet.
No, and I think I think that's still to come. But I would say that each of these are a push.
You think maybe Dune?
I don't think so.
Does it take that long?
I actually think Dune is going to be. It's not going to make a lot of money.
You don't think so?
No, and not because it's not good. I just think
just not.
Most people aren't like Dune. Yes,
Yeah.
And I think most
I've always
people
thought it had the potential to be like a sci-fi blockbuster.
Well, look at Blade Runner 2049. That
yeah.
didn't do very well at the box office,
No.
and it's a great movie.
Oh, it's an excellent
So,
movie.
and I think that's what you're going to find here is you got Denis Villeneuve, who's a great director that I just don't think is a household name. Well, unless you love cinema. So anyhow, but with Black Widow, what I liked about Black Widow is I like Scarlett Johansson. I think she's a great actress. I do, and I think she's been great as the Black Widow character. But
what is the film she was in that's just the two of them and their marriage is falling apart?
Marriage Story.
Yeah, that was the first time I watched that, and that was the first time I was really aware of how good she is.
Well, and she's in another movie,
excellent.
I think from 2014 called Under the Skin, where she plays almost a shape-shifting alien. That sounds like it would be like something. It's an independent movie, and it is gritty, and it is dark, and it is hard to watch. But she doesn't even really talk in that movie, and she's great.
That's cool.
I think she's a good actress. I think the Black Widow character to me is not that exciting.
That's why I expected this to be Marvel's first big meh.
Yeah,
like Solo for the Star Wars franchise.
And it's not. And again, that's not because I'm sure there's some, whatever, what do they call them, incel, somebody out there that's like, it's because Marvel's trying to shove women down our face.
I'd say the same thing about Hawkeye.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
The funniest joke in Deadpool 2. Do you remember that?
No.
Deadpool 2. He's completely crippled. He and the kid are in prison together, in mutant prison together.
Yeah.
And the kid says, let's break out, and Deadpool's back's broken, his legs are broken. He's like, look, I'm useless right now. Put a bow and arrow in my hands, I'm basically Hawkeye. I thought that was this great snub at the Marvel Universe. But
speaking of Hawkeye,
I would put, I don't think it's because it's a female character. I think it's just Hawkeye and Black Widow are sort of supplementals in the Avengers universe.
Yeah. No, and so what I would say,
I worried it wouldn't carry a film.
No, I think you this is a hard thing to say because, again, Scarlett Johansson's great. I was not expecting a lot of anything really in this movie, to be quite frank. But when I actually ended up giving it, I think I gave it a B plus in that range. And the reason that I did that was because there are two people that saved this movie, and I shouldn't say save because it feels like a Mission Impossible movie is what it felt like.
It looks like one.
It did. It felt like that. But who saves this movie is David Harbour, who is the Stranger Things guy. He plays I can't remember his superhero's name, but he's Black Widow's kind of surrogate dad.
Oh, okay.
And then Florence Pugh. Florence Pugh is actually probably, I thought, was the shining star of the movie.
Really?
Florence Pugh, for those, it's not a household name. If you saw her face, you'd go, I know her. She was in Midsommar, which she should have won Best Actress for, but she ended up winning, I think, nominated for Best Supporting Actress for Little Women, of all things, for just wearing a dress and talking. But Midsommar is the better performance.
Moratorium on those for a while.
Yeah.
I really think so.
But she's great, and what's great about this, it almost has a little bit of feel. You remember the TV show The Americans, about the Russian family?
Yeah.
That's what you get. The plot is basically Black Widow, her sister that's played by Florence Pugh, and the mom, it's played by Rachel Weisz, and then David Harbour's dad. They're kind of this put together family, pretending to be an American family in America. The movie opens and they are basically escaping. They've kind of been made, so to speak, and so they escape. The family gets broken up, and that's kind of how Black Widow and her sister end up in like what's called the Red Room. And she's talked about this in other Marvel movies. The whole thing. You remember the running joke between her and Hawkeye. With Budapest. You and I remember Budapest very differently.
Very differently.
That is kind of brought to light, and actually it's actually quite disturbing. It's not a pleasant memory.
Oh, so you get to see the story behind that running
a little
joke.
bit, yeah. Okay. And then
I remember.
There's something, to be, we all know too, Black Widow's dead, all right? If you've seen all the Avengers movies, she's dead.
Spoiler.
She died in Endgame.
Kind of a self-sacrifice.
Yeah, kind of a self-sacrifice. And then here's where we get super meta. And this is what I really don't...
now that's why I want to see it.
Yeah.
Because this is the Phase 4.
Yes.
So you had all the transition with the Disney Plus stuff.
And this is where, and that's what I want to talk about is I don't know what... I get what Marvel's game is here because they can't make everything a movie.
Yeah.
And if they did, then you're talking about doing what Star Wars does, where you have a movie like Solo. But
they also can't keep this along the narrative going behind all these films. But wait, let's hold this thought right there. We've got to go to a news break, and I have a feeling we could spend some quality time on this. Where is Marvel going? What are they doing? What are they thinking? How Disney Plus and those series factor into this? But all of it again ties back into this broad question of when is everything officially back? When do we see that blockbuster movie hit the theaters? So there you have it from Andy Morgan of AndyAtTheMovies.com. Black Widow is not it. None of the releases from this weekend are it. Suicide Squad might be it. We'll be talking about that next week on the show. But as Andy said, and I tend to agree, Andy, everyone is a push in that direction to where we're finally back to at least next year maybe having a normal summer movie season, or maybe even this fall if the COVID-19 numbers stay lower than they are right now in Utah. We might see this officially become a comeback movie season. I'm ready for it. I'm waiting for it. I miss big blockbusters, and the studios are still sitting on them all. All right. More of the For the People movie show right after this.
Beautiful and unique, with friendly people to meet.
Hey Cache Valley, this is Moose with Garden Gateway. This week's forecast is looking a bit cooler. Time to get out in your yard for a bit of horticulture therapy. Our plants are looking superb. Mention this ad and receive 25% off any plants purchased. Garden Gateway, known for gorgeous hanging baskets and so much more.
Your gateway to a beautiful garden begins at Garden Gateway.
Every Saturday morning at 9, you get information to prepare you with retirement solutions for the journey ahead. It's Smart Money Ascent with Clayton Alexander of Teton Wealth Group.
How do we solve that number one fear or that number one concern? Make sure you never run out of money.
And Teton Wealth Group's Ethan Miller.
Then, when you leave Teton, when you leave our offices, you're going to have a plan that you're both excited about.
It's where your retirement questions are answered. Smart Money Ascent, Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk KBNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People movie show. You heard from Andy there, our discussions on the box office and more, that it has not been a super disappointing summer movie season, but it hasn't been what it could have been in any way, shape, or form. There is no film has really just blown things away, and it's likely none were going to. So this, as Andy has said, doesn't mean that it was a bad year of movies so far. There's some great stuff out there, and Suicide Squad, as you heard, worth your time. We knew it would be, but of course this is a movie that's worth your time for a specific movie-going crowd. This isn't for everybody, just like Dead Pigs is not for everybody, although that is a movie streaming now that is getting a lot of attention and discussion. It's a comedy, as I understand it. The basic plot of this is, the, quote, fate of an unlucky pig farmer, a feisty homeowner defending her property, and a love-struck busboy merge in this this comedy, romantic comedy, that is directed by Kathy Yan. Go see it if you want, but that, like I said, is for a specific crowd. So is the Suicide Squad. So if you just want to get out and see something general, Stillwater is probably your best bet. Maybe Snake Eye. No, I'm kidding. You probably, unless you're a fan of the first two or a huge G.I. Joe fan, Snake Eyes probably isn't the one for you either. But that doesn't mean that you don't have options and that there isn't something coming down the pike for you. In fact, stay tuned for more on it. You could go out and see Jungle Cruise. You could go out and see Old. Black Widow still playing. Stillwater, as I mentioned, Space Jam. My point is there are plenty of choices. I don't mean to imply there's nothing to get out and do. But if you are finicky about your movie-going expenses, then maybe hold off. We have coming The Green Knight, which is getting huge thumbs up from critics who have seen it. But also don't forget the streaming services. The latest season of Outer Banks, which I've seen some episodes. This is actually, this is basically 90210 from the late 80s, early 90s, but set in Florida, in the water, with alligators. But I've seen a few episodes, and it's a pretty cool treasure hunting / murder mystery. I don't know if they intended that, but I was actually intrigued by the plot. I ended up watching most of the first season. Well, season 2 is out. Also hitting Netflix, Never Have I Ever. I mentioned Sweet Tooth again, but Netflix is launching back into a promotion run for Sweet Tooth and Shadow and the Bone, 2 fantasy series that I've seen both. Both are pretty worth your time, to be honest with you. On Hulu and Amazon Prime, they're making a big deal out of The Sixth Sense, what with another Shyamalan movie in theaters. You can see that if you want to. If you haven't seen it, it's probably been spoiled for you at this point and might not be as fun as it was for those who saw it the first go-round. And then, get this, there's kind of a pause in movies. So we're behind a few, as Andy mentioned, so we've got plenty to fill up our show next week. But as far as new premieres, well, honestly, the streaming services might be your entertainment savior for a couple of weeks. But then after this lull, things really get rolling, heading into early September or late August, actually, early September, and on into October. It's nonstop. We'll talk about it all next week on The Movie Show with Andy Morgan of Andy at themovies.com. Dave Ramsey is next here on KVNU Logan.
Your voice for news and talk is right here on your radio. Breaking news and stimulating talk. KVNU Logan, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.